Mr. Speaker, Representative Liebling. Representative Liebling, I'd like to direct your attention back to the Minnesota Constitution. You had raised Article 13, Section 2, prohibition as to aiding sectarian schools. Are you aware of any case law that interprets this section, Representative Liebling?
Member from Olmsted, Representative Liebling.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Wardlow. Actually, since I don't serve on the Education Committee, I was asking the question because I wanted to learn the answer. So no, I haven't looked up the case law.
Member from Dakota, Representative Wardlow.
Mr. Speaker, would Representative Liebling continue to yield?
She will yield. Representative Wardlow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Liebling, in your view, would it be all right per Article 13, Section 2 for, say, the state to allow a school district to use public funds to bus students to a sectarian school?
Member from Olmsted, Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Representative Wardlow, you know, I'm aware that we do that in Minnesota. It doesn't mean I agree that it's constitutional, but I'm aware that the court has said that that's okay. But I'm not aware that the court has ever said that it's okay to give chunks of public money to students in Minnesota to take to sectarian schools to fund their education, and I think that's a big leap.
The member from Dakota, Representative Wardlow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Liebling. Would Representative Liebling yield for a couple more questions?
I believe she will yield. Representative Wardlow.
Mr. Speaker, Representative Liebling, that is in fact the holding of Americans United versus Independent School District number 622 by the Minnesota Supreme Court in 1970, where they actually held that a independent school district's busing system that was used to deliver students to sectarian schools was constitutional under Article 13, Section 2, because the benefit to the religious schools was incidental and indirect. So actually, that is the holding of the Minnesota Supreme Court, and it is good law. It is the law of our land. Representative Liebling, are you familiar with the Post-Secondary Enrollment Options Act?
Representative Liebling, will you yield to a question? She will yield. Representative from Olmsted, Representative Liebling.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and Representative Wardlow. I am sort of familiar with it. As I say, I've never served on the Education Committee. So, but you know, you can make whatever statement here on the House floor that you want, Representative Wardlow. You don't have to quiz me about it, but just go ahead and make your point, because I think you're just wasting a lot of time with this line of questioning. I was asking a question because I wanted to see the answer from the people that are putting this forward. I think that the burden has to be on the people who are proposing to do something new here, and that's why I was asking the questions.
The member from Dakota, Representative Wardlow.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Liebling. I'll just go ahead and make the point then, and I trust that that is in fact what you were trying to do, just trying to ask the questions to find out whether or not we know for a fact that this act would be constitutional if the governor were to sign into law. And we do know that it would be constitutional per Article 13, Section 2 of the Minnesota Constitution, and the Minnesota Constitution's Establishment Clause, and the Federal Constitution's Religious Establishment Clause as well. Because there's another case, Minnesota Court of Appeals in Minnesota Federation of Teachers versus Bamenga, where the court actually did uphold that the Post-Secondary Education Options Act when it was applied to reimburse tuition to Bethel University, I believe, directly for students that were taking classes at Bethel University. So that was a direct payment from the state to Bethel University through the Post-Secondary Education Options Act. And if that is constitutional, certainly payments under the current legislation under consideration, which would be payments to the parents of students and not to the schools themselves, would be indirect, and that is the established test in Minnesota for whether it's a two-pronged test. First, whether something violates Section 2 of Article 13 together with the Establishment Clause of the Minnesota Constitution. The test is, first, is the benefit given to the sectarian school indirect and incidental or not? Second, if you answer that question in the if you answer that question, yes, it's incidental and indirect, then you get to the second question, is the school pervasively sectarian? But we don't even get past that first question here because the benefits are paid to the parents and benefit the students directly, and the only benefit to the schools, sectarian or otherwise, would be incidental. Thank you.